Hi guys, we're going to go over the basics of A&P. Now obviously this is 2 whole semesters worth of information, so I'm going to give you a very quick, brief overview. We're not going to get real in depth with anything. We just want to go over the structure and the function of each body system, and that's what A&P means. Anatomy is the structure, physiology is the function. So just some general information. You're going to need to know the basic terms, directional terms such as proximal, which means close to the body, and distal, which means away from the body. Quadrants refers to the 4 quadrants of the abdomen. We kind of just draw an X through it or a plus sign, and we have right upper quadrant, right lower, left upper, left lower. When you guys talk about communication, you talked about how important it is to be very specific with things, as specific as you can be, so these terms become really important, right? So referring to the abdomen, you wouldn't want to just say abdomen. You would want to specify is the right upper, left lower, so they're important. And then we have movement terms, so you guys will go over this a lot when you go over range of motion. So we have, for example, abduction, which means away. Just think of abducting someone. And adduction means towards. And we also have flexion, so I always think of like flexing a muscle, and then extension, extending it. But like I said, we'll go over that more when we go over range of motion. So the basic structure of the human body is the cell. You've probably heard that before. A cluster of cells will form some tissues. Tissues form organs. So our example here would be a nephron. This is a kidney. It's forming a kidney. It then forms an organ system, which would be this, which would be our urinary system, and then an organism, which is the human being. So that's how we are structured. So very quickly, the nervous system. The purpose of the nervous system is to send and receive information from the body. Your central nervous system consists of your brain and your spinal cord, and then the peripheral nervous system goes out into the periphery, so all the way down to your fingertips and your toes. So just think about sending information, like if you were to touch a hot surface, the nerves in your hand would tell you, hey, this is hot. They send a message to your brain. Your brain says, hey, move your hand, and you move it. It's not something that you really think about, right? But it's important. There's also the autonomic nervous system, which is your fight or flight, right? So you've probably heard that before. So that's the sympathetic nervous system. I always think of sympathetic S for stress. So when you're under a lot of stress, your sympathetic nervous system kicks in, releases adrenaline, epinephrine, and you get ready to either fight or fly. And that just doesn't have to mean if you're faced with a bear. It could be taking a stressful test, right? Your blood pressure goes up, your heart rate goes up, even your body temperature, you feel flushed. So the parasympathetic nervous system calms everything down. So think about sleeping, everything slows down, your breathing, your heart rate slows down, and you relax. So musculoskeletal system is often broken down into 2 different body systems, the muscular and the skeletal. The purpose of the muscular system is to give your body shape and form, produce heat, and it also has those little muscular movements that move food and fluid through your digestive tract. That's called peristalsis. It's very important. You have 3 types of muscles: smooth, cardiac, and skeletal. And this accounts for about 40% of your body weight. Of course, that's going to be different for everyone depending on if they have a lot of body fat or, not enough body fat. So it's different for everyone, but about 40%. The human body consists of 206 bones, and if you've been through A&P, you had to know just about every single one of them. So there are long, short, flat, and irregular bones, and they bear the weight of the body and give us some type of structure, and they allow for movements. And they protect your organs. Think about your rib cage, protecting all your vital organs here. So the purpose of the cardiovascular system is to pump blood and provide the body with oxygen. Every cell in your body needs oxygen to survive, and if it doesn't get that, within a matter of minutes, those cells start to die. It also carries nutrients, which you probably don't think about. And it eliminates waste. It carries blood to your urinary system and allows your kidneys to filter and get rid of waste product inside of your blood. And it also provides immunity. So your cardiovascular system is very busy, right? White blood cells, when they identify an infection or a threat, they will attack that area. So your heart is also electrical. So we have the SA node here. This is your pacemaker. Sends an electrical impulse to your AV node. Goes down the bundle of His and then through the Purkinje fibers. And as a nurse, I would read that as an EKG. So you will learn about that in nursing school. This is what we want it to look like if it's a normal rhythm. Also note that oxygenated blood is red, deoxygenated blood is blue. So soon as your blood picks up oxygen, it turns red, which is why we see red on the outside. Once it hits the oxygen, it turns red. The purpose of your respiratory system is to get rid of waste, which is CO2 for the respiratory system, and to provide the body with oxygen. So you inhale through your nose and your mouth. It goes down the trachea, bronchi, bronchioles, and all the way down to these little grape-like clusters. They look like little sacks of grapes that are called alveoli, and this is where the gas exchange happens, right? You see all the little capillaries surrounding those alveoli. They exchange deoxygenated blood for oxygenated blood. You also have this pleura, which is they're very thin space in between your lungs and your chest cavity. It's filled with fluid, and it allows your lungs to slide up and down as you inhale and exhale. This large organ underneath the lungs is called the diaphragm, and it's really important in breathing. It allows you to take a breath in and out, but it also separates your lower organs from your upper organs. The digestive system, the purpose of this is to provide your body with nutrition. So typically, for most people, we take nutrition in through our mouth. There are alternative forms of nutrition, which we go over later in this class. But this is just the normal way of getting nutrition is we eat and we swallow down. It goes down the esophagus into the stomach, where it's then broken down even further in the intestines. And your stomach and your intestines absorb the nutrition, and whatever can't be used becomes waste, which is feces, which we then expel through the anus. So digestion is mechanical by chewing, and it's also chemical. So we have chemicals in our saliva, and we have chemicals in our stomach and our intestines, and it helps to break that down so it's more usable. So the urinary system, very, very important system. Your little tiny kidneys here, they're very busy little organs. They filter the blood, and they eliminate the waste product inside of the blood. But they also maintain water balance. So if you've had, a ton to drink, it will make you pee a lot to keep your body in balance. If you haven't had enough and you're a little dehydrated, it's going to hold on to everything. To try to maintain balance for as long as possible. You can always tell this if your urine is very, very dark, then it's very concentrated and you're probably not drinking enough. And if it's clear, then you may be drinking too much. Also maintains electrolyte balance, your sodium and potassium pump, and your blood pressure. Your blood pressure is really just the pressure inside of your arteries. So if your blood pressure is very, very high, your kidneys will try to get rid of some water to try to bring it down. So they're very busy little organs. They're also very sensitive. So always just know that, if an organ is going to shut down, your kidneys will be the first ones out. They can't handle much. If somebody's got diabetes that they're not taking care of, high blood pressure, or if somebody goes into septic shock, the kidneys are one of the first organs to fail. Kidneys and eyes, they're very sensitive. Very important, very sensitive. So the purpose of the reproductive system is to reproduce. So that's a little giveaway. To reproduce another human life for us. So there's two different types of humans, right? Males and females. So they have different organs, different sexual organs. Males have testicles. They have an epididymis, which is where sperm is stored. The prostate produces fluid, which protects the sperm. And then the penis, which is the passageway for both urine and sperm. For females, they have ovaries, which is where the eggs are, and every month, give or take, for most females, an egg is released and travels through the fallopian tubes, where it's either fertilized or expelled. If it doesn't attach to the wall of the uterus and it's not fertilized, the woman will menstruate and try again next month. So women menstruate about every 28 days for 3 to 5 days. Of course, every female is different. So the endocrine system is very complex, and I'm not going to get into all of it. One thing to note, though, is that it's made of a lot of different organs, and these organs are not attached to each other. So unlike other body systems where everything is kind of like linear, these are just spaced throughout the body and they're not attached. So it consists of organs that produce hormones. Hormones really are in charge of every life function that we have. Our metabolism, growth, sexual function, even our mood is controlled by hormones. So there is a disorder for an abundance of every hormone and a lack of every hormone. So we definitely don't have enough time in this class to go through each of those. The main ones that we talk about are diabetes, which is the most common disorder of the endocrine system, and hypothyroidism. Those are two big ones. But the rest of them you'll definitely get in depth with when you go into nursing school. And then finally we have our integumentary system, which is our skin, right? It's our largest organ. It's super important. It protects us. It's our first layer of defense against the outside world. So just think about how important it is when you get a little hangnail and it's just a very small break in this barrier, but it becomes infected. And so think about how important all of your skin is. It also insulates us, so it keeps our body temperature at a regular, normal, pretty consistent level. So when we think about somebody who has large wounds or burns, we worry about them, keeping a steady body temperature. It also identifies us, so it tells the world who we are, right? And that's how we identify ourselves. The amount of melanin in our skin controls the color of our skin. So that's a pretty important part of who we are. And it produces vitamin D. So when you go out into the sun, we produce vitamin D, which is essential. It's an essential nutrient for us. So that was a real quick down and dirty overview of A&P. Definitely not enough to get you through those 2 semesters of school, but hopefully it's enough of a little review to get your mind going. Definitely make sure that you read through those chapters and let me know if you have any questions.